Now to something else playing out on college campuses. Stanford Law School is facing backlash after administrators failed to stop some students from heckling a conservative speaker on campus earlier this month, to the point where he had to leave the event. On March 14th, U.S. Appeals Court Judge Kyle Duncan, a Trump-appointed member of the Federalist Society, was invited by conservative students to speak at the school. Duncan was immediately greeted by hundreds of protesters who objected to his background in private practice, where he often represented clients opposing LGBTQ rights. At Stanford, a frustrated Duncan began responding and at one point even accused the school dean of setting him up when she, too, began criticizing his background. Take a look.
Say something, Tim? Is that okay? Is that okay?
So you've invited me to speak here, and I'm being heckled nonstop. And I'm just asking for an administrator to sign what
That's an administrator.
Your racism is showing.
Wait,
Respect black women.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is this worth it? It isn't a setup. But for many people in this law school who work here, who study here, and who live here, your advocacy, your opinions from the bench land as absolute disenfranchisement of their rights and does land. Let me
Wow. In response to this incident, school administrators made the decision to suspend that dean of diversity who you just saw there. The law school dean also apologized to Judge Duncan for the heckling, issuing this lengthy statement explaining why the protesters violated school policy with their demonstration.
Well, and Dean Martinez also has just wrote an extraordinary letter to the Stanford law community that, my gosh, I think every law school administrator, and I've got to say, anybody that runs a newsroom should read.
Yeah.
It's talking about respecting free speech and a diversity of ideas, even when the person that is speaking, or even when, let's say, the op-ed that is written is offensive to people's point of view.
And it can be very difficult, but what you saw there, that's not how it's done.
Yeah, let's bring in right now Dean of Berkeley Law, Erwin Chemerinsky. He is co-chair of the National Advisory Board of the University of California National Center for Free Speech and Civic Engagement. His book on constitutional law also got me through Con Law 101 and 102. And I actually...
3 times.
I'm a poor, dumb country lawyer, but because of your work and me reading it, I actually booked my con law class. It's the only good thing that happened to me, and I give you all the credit. So let's just start with this Stanford incident, because it's fascinating, because I've read some people writing about it. There doesn't seem to be good guys on either side. This federal judge did not behave in the way that I believe I've seen federal judges should behave, especially when talking to students. And of course, we saw how the students were behaving. You've done this. You've sorted through this at Berkeley. Could you explain what's at issue here and how you sort through it step by step by step?
What's at issue, as you said, is freedom of speech. And the key is there's no right to use speech to silence others. There's no heckler's veto. If there were, then the only speech that we would hear is that which no one cared enough to shout down. I send a message to the Berkeley Law community every fall, making clear that we should be a place where all ideas and views can be expressed, and that if there's ever disruption of speakers, then those who disrupt face student disciplinary charges.
And Dean, can you also talk about, because there are a lot of people on the right, and I'm considered in many ways from the right, but there are many people on the right that love to talk about how all schools shut down free speech. Could you underline the fact that what you did, and also what a fellow dean did last year in your op-ed with the Washington Post, what we've seen at Yale, what we see from Dean Martinez at Stanford, that there are people who are not members of the Federalist Society who are actually protecting free speech across the ideological spectrum?
I believe it's crucial that a college or university be a place where all ideas and views can be expressed. I'm pleased that we've had many conservative speakers this year at Berkeley Law, many liberal speakers. There hasn't been disruption. Last year, Howard Gilman, who's the chancellor, UC Irvine, and I wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post making exactly this point, that there's no right to silence a speaker. Those who do so should face discipline. It's essential that college universities adopt this policy. And that's why I think the letter from Dean Jenny Martinez was courageous and superb in expressing exactly this viewpoint.
And it really is. Anne Applebaum, I know you've expressed concerns, as have people across the ideological spectrum, about free speech being shut down on college campuses from the right, from the left, from everybody. You wrote a piece called The New Puritans. Talk about this and the importance of Berkeley, of Stanford, of Yale, of UC Hastings stepping forward and actually taking a strong stand for free speech and shutting down hecklers' vetoes.
Yeah, I'm actually really encouraged by this story because I think it shows how things are beginning to change. If the leaders of all kinds of institutions, actually, not just universities, but as you said a minute ago, newspapers and media organizations and museums and other places establish the rules. And the rules are that we tolerate conversation, we allow speakers to speak, we ask them polite questions, then you'll get a better atmosphere everywhere. And I think when these kinds of incidents first began to happen, a lot of public administrators and private administrators, actually leaders of institutions, were afraid because they hadn't been subjected to a Twitter storm before. They hadn't been publicly attacked. They hadn't seen how these things can play out. I think people are now finally beginning to understand that you can end it. You can end the argument. You can establish the rule that everybody can speak. And then you'll get really a better atmosphere for everybody on your college campus or in your newsroom.
And Dean Martinez wrote, again, I thought her open letter, it was long, great citations, though. And Anne, if you haven't had a chance to read it, you should read it. I think it's extraordinary. And really quickly, you talked about newsrooms like I did. I still think journalism is damaged by what happened to Bennett at the New York Times because he allowed a United States senator to write an op-ed that I personally found offensive, but an op-ed that was actually a majority view of most Americans. And James Bennett got fired because of that. I think that was sort of at the height of this new Puritanism. But talk about how that chills free speech in newsrooms. We're talking about college campuses, but how in that case and others like it chilled free speech in newsrooms.
I mean, I think anywhere where you have the example of the institutional leader caving to a mob, and usually it's an internet mob or a Twitter mob, not a real-life mob. But when you have that example, you make people wary. And so even if you can't point to a million versions of this event, you only need one of them to make people nervous about what they write or what they say or how they talk to their colleagues. That was a kind of low point. I'm hoping that maybe we're now beginning to learn from it and emerging to some kind of different and better equilibrium.
So, Dean Chemerinsky, let me put that question to you. You've obviously written and spoken powerfully about this issue. Do you feel like we have reached some sort of inflection point? Do you think there will be a better understanding, more openness? Do you share the optimism here?
I do. It's also important to put in context. There are very few incidents like this at law schools or on college campuses. Every day across the country, there are controversial speakers appearing. It's only when something like this happens that it gets media attention. But I do hope that an incident like this will cause everyone to reflect and to realize college universities have to be places where all ideas and views can be expressed.
All right, Dean of Berkeley Law School, Erwin Chemerinsky, thank you so much. Great honor to have you here, Dean. We greatly appreciate it. And the Atlantic's Anne Applebaum, thank you as well.